Sometimes very simply when someone says, what do you do? And I think, I don't know where to start. Like, especially if they're not, that's a guy that owns a coffee shop or something. I say, I help de-robotize organizations. And they usually go, oh God, we need that so bad. Like, it's such a relatable, simple sentence, but everything is done through humans. And when we honor that, so much magic unlocks.
Welcome to the Make Water Work podcast, where we dive into the people, ideas, and innovations shaping the future of water. I'm your host, Isaac Pellerin, and alongside my co-host, Megan Glover, the founder of 120 Water, we bring you insights from hundreds of incredible conversations we've had over the past 9 years with inspiring and energizing leaders in the water industry. Each week, we share those stories and conversations with entrepreneurs, community champions, and innovators who are making water work for everyone. Whether you're a water professional, a curious innovator, or simply passionate about our most precious resource, this podcast is for you. Let's get started. Well, thank you everyone for joining the Make Water Work podcast, where we interview innovators and leaders who make water work. And so, Megan, I'm really excited about today's episode. Tell us who we're chatting with today.
So today we are speaking to entrepreneur and founder Annyse Balkwill. And Annyse is the founder of LuminUS and host of the Meaningful Conversations with Annyse. And I'm just, you know those people that you meet and your energy connects before you even know the substance of like what they do. Mm-hmm. That was my initial connection with Annyse when we met in person at the water tower about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And once I learned more about her organization and what she's doing, and then now her podcast, which is really focused on meaningful conversations with women in water and other leadership, I'm like, you know what? Like, you are a badass. We need to have you on the podcast. And so I'm just so excited that schedules aligned and we're able to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
So
Annyse.
happy to be here.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. And I felt very much the same when I met you. So this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, we like to kick off every episode with the same question because we've never met a person in water that doesn't have an amazing story to tell. So can you please share with us, how did water find you?
Well, I was looking for work right out of university, and I had 2 job offers. One was with a chemical company and one was with Xenon. Do you guys know Xenon?
The Xenon...
It ages me.
Yeah. Right the copier?
No, Xenon was they made the hollow fiber ultrafiltration membranes.
Okay,
the ones that were
okay.
submerged.
Got it.
And so GE bought them, then Suez bought them, and they are now part of Veolia. And that division's still going strong. That office is just 40 minutes down the road from where I live. And I started there fresh out of school. I'm a chemical and biochemical engineer by training. And so I started there in an introductory level role. And I did process engineering there. I did product management there. I worked there for over 11 years. And I had I thought of this when you asked that question. I had a mentor there who I just adored. And he said, he goes, you're probably going to be in this industry forever. He goes, as soon as you get a little wet behind the ears, you don't leave. And so, so I've been hanging around in this industry for over 20 years, believe it or not.
Yeah. And so GE Water, right, is who acquired the firm, and you were in product management. So, I mean, talk about that shift from corporate America and GE Water, really high profile job in project management, to now you went out on your own. Like, how was that leap, and what kind of compelled you to go out and start your company?
Yeah, so product management, I did that for the majority of my time with GE Water, Xenon, and then GE Water. And that really taught me everything from the water business, from new product development to commercialization, to pricing and costing, to full design, production, commissioning. So the whole gamut. And they did it over, I worked over multiple product lines, and it was a global opportunity. And so what GE is really great at is teaching you about business, even if you don't exactly know that they're teaching you. And so it's just part of that culture. And I really learned a lot about how business works, how it runs, so much about our industry. I got to work all over the place. And a theme that sort of kept coming up was I would be in meetings where I could tell people were just agreeing so that they could end the meeting already and get out of the room. And I don't think that was unique to like where I was working.
Right.
I see now that I work with other organizations, I see that again and again. And I would say to myself out loud, and lots in my head, is there's got to be a better way to do this. I didn't know what that better way was. But then it found me. It was another thing that found me. So water found me first, and then ways of working and ways of facilitating and sort of really ways of leadership that all started to find me. And so I learned a little bit. It was outside of work. I learned a little bit. The woman I was at a meeting, and the woman that was running it, I could tell that she really did things different. We were doing strange things like sitting in a circle, and there was intuitive cards on the floor, and this was with a group full of strangers. But what happened in that 2-hour meeting was so much productivity, and I felt like I knew these people my whole life. And I was like, what kind of magic did you just do in this room? And I knew it was something. And I left home that day, and I called my best friend and said, you'll never believe where I was tonight. And I think I found what I'm supposed to be doing. Like it just hit me. And so then a couple of weeks later, an opportunity came up when I was at GE, and they said, we need to create a new product for the ZWeed 500, which is their flagship. It has the reinforced hollow fiber membranes, flagship for submerged membranes for wastewater treatment. We need to develop our next version. We've had 2 brainstorming sessions and have come up with nothing. And they said, can you help us facilitate? And I said, yeah. I got a few ideas up my sleeve. And so I love him, but the R&D manager and the product manager for that particular line said, you're crazy. This idea sounds nuts. And I said, it sounds to me like you're between a rock and a hard place. So let's give it a shot. Like, and I'm free. I just work here, like, let's just do it. And so in 3 days, and in GE speak, 3 short days. First day we went, I always say this because it speaks to so much of the culture. We finished at 5:00. The second day we finished at 4:00. The third day we were wrapped by 3:00. Right. And that's like unheard of for creation, brainstorming, right?
Yeah.
And we had a deadline on the Friday that was, we had to pitch out to senior management what we came up with. It was like a hard line. So I knew Thursday we would be off so they could put their pitches together. They pitched 15 concepts to product management, and 4 of them became fully funded R&D projects. And then I was at the WEFTech that they launched that new product, years later.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's awesome.
And it was that day that I was like, oh, I knew there was a better way. It's not that they didn't have the ideas. We didn't set the conditions for those ideas to flow. And that was, we were winging it. This woman that taught me, I called her and said, do you have time to meet for a coffee? I really need to write some notes down on the back of a napkin like a good engineer so I can figure out how to run this thing, in a week from now. And so it was a wild experiment. And then it just grew after that. I was really lucky, and I got to practice all over the world with people from all different countries. And we had so much success that I grew the confidence to then take a huge leap of faith and go out on my own.
Oh man, that's amazing.
I love this topic of like design thinking and the way that you help people break down from the uniform or the costume they think they need to show up with, and creating a safe space for people to just unlock the side of the brain that says, well, I need to know what I'm talking about, versus we all just need to let our guard down and know that this is safe so that we can actually talk about the problem and not just the solution. Tell me more about that type of process, like what that was like.
Yeah. And that shows up everywhere. Is we are all so masked at work, and it's such a relief. That's the feeling I'm always looking for in a room, is relief. And because if you walk in a room with me, we're in a circle. There's no table or chairs in between us. Like, we're just sitting in a circle of chairs. and we're looking at each other. Once you work with me more than once, you start to notice that people start wearing fancy socks because we can see them. So that's always fun.
Now I'm self-conscious about my socks.
and it's a permission, but we work together to create that permission. So it's a co-creation process. And I started that word, 10 years ago when nobody knew what it meant, but people are starting to say it now. And we are co-creating together. And we're not only co-creating together, there's also another force that I think comes in. There's sort of a universal force that we are also creating with. And when we let our guard down and we let our own sort of rigidity and our defenses down, and we do it gently, and we do it, I always say, with the trust level that's already in the room. We're not going to pretend it's any more or any less. We're just going to work with the trust level that's in the room, and we're just going to get started. And so we do things really simply. We have a few simple tools, like we do hopes and fears about everything. Whatever the problem is, or the perceived problem, or the project that you're trying to work on, or the culture that you're trying to create, whatever the active business need is. And I always say, don't do this work. Don't do psychological safety work, or do the work and practice safety. And you're probably not going to be awesome at it when you get started. And it's okay. It's just a practice. And through that practice, you start to recognize, oh, when I bring that defense mechanism here, I see that it shuts other people down, right? Like a really simple defense mechanism is when someone says like, I know, but, or that's common sense. Isn't that common sense? Right? There's just these little nuances that we might do unknowingly, just as a bit of a nervous system response. So I talk about it in terms of how do we help create the conditions where our nervous system isn't in our fight, flight, or freeze? Because that means our amygdala is activated. And our amygdala is only creative at saving our lives. It is not that innovative in general. We want access to our prefrontal cortex. So how do we create those conditions? And by a simple tool like hopes and fears, is people just start to say, what are our hopes for this? It's amazing how many hopes are assumed or not assumed. And then what are our fears? And we just start doing it. We'll work like in small groups, and then we'll come and share it with the whole group, say. And what we start to realize is that, oh, there's similar fears in the room. So I don't have to be so guarded. Oh, someone spoke the fear that was in my head. That was really brave of them. I think I can speak my next fear. And so then you're just starting to actually learn what is in the room. And then I wish I could wave a magic wand and write fears out and then they never show up. I wish I had that. I would be a gazillionaire, but I don't know how to make that happen. But I do know that when you do that, the whole group is prepared to navigate that situation if it's a fear situation that shows up. It's all in your prefrontal cortex. You've talked about it before. You're prepared for it instead of blindsided and then relying on your defense mechanisms to get you through it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I eat this stuff. I love this stuff. But I can only imagine going into a corporate room with water people. And Annyse, I bet there's varying degrees of folks being on board or not. I could be wrong, right? But I guess what have you found effective to those that may not be all in or go along with the process? Like, how does that affect what you do, and how do you kind of bring them along into the process?
There's never a group that everyone's all in.
Okay. Yeah.
Ever. Figured. Yeah. Right. And even the leader, usually, someone that brings me in, they feel it, they know it, but they know they're doing something transformational. And so no one's ready for transformation. It's just, you do it even though you're not ready. You do it because your will, your belief in what's possible is greater than your uncomfortable feelings around it. I have one leader that always tells me, you really helped me be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And that's where our growth edge is. That's where our innovation is. That's where we're expanding and evolving as leaders. So all of this work is part of the natural evolution of leadership, the natural evolution of our cultures. So we aren't trying to do anything. So it's a constant invitation. So that's what I don't try to bring anyone along. I have no convincing to do, but I get them working as quickly as possible. Because when they're working and they care about the thing that we're working on, that's what's always true in a room. Even if they're not sure about this process and they think they know what's right and they're used to being the smartest person in the room, like whatever they're bringing in with them, or they're nervous about opening up and they think hopes and fears are wishy-washy and they think this circle is like a kumbaya moment, I just allow all those feelings to be in the room. I'm not trying to help anybody not feel the way they're feeling. They just get to feel that way. And I have a fun little story about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Please.
I was not on my own yet. I was just like a baby doing this. We were in Cyprus. I just got back from maternity leave and we were trying out this sort of process in this whole new way. And the leader of the team in the Middle East, I met with him for dinner the night before, told him how everything was going to go. He wanted me to work with his team on some issues that they were having around like sales and application engineering and very practical things. And I said, yeah, I have a great idea of how to do this to meet your goals. I said, this is how it's going to go. And it's going to feel a bit weird because everyone's going to sit in a circle and all these things. Well, we have a 3-hour dinner. I think he's pretty good with this. And he's a dear friend. I adore him. and we get in the room and he sits down and he says, what is this, kindergarten? And I was like,
oh no.
I was like, I thought I prepared you last night at dinner.
Right.
But it taught me really early on that it's just okay. If I'm okay with those feelings being in the room, they actually dissolve quite quickly. Or it might take someone a little longer. But I always say, move at your own pace. Move at the trust level that you feel is in the room. Move at the pace that you're ready. I never ask anyone to write down or do something that they're not willing to do. And we move and we use the group dynamic. So we will do something that has 2 people, and then we'll do something that has 4 people, and we'll do something that maybe is groups of 8. And so we move it around and they move people around and they create these sort of smaller, more intimate circles, and they might create some content together. And then if they pitch that out to the team, well, I don't know that Joe said it or Jenny said it. I just know that that came up in the room. And as we're doing it, I always say, don't filter. Just everyone's opinion is valid and just get it out. And then later in the process, you can decide, where do you want to focus? What do we want to draw attention to? What just gets let go and honored as a great idea, but not for today, right? So there's an ease sort of and a flow that shows up that helps people see and feel what it feels like to be heard and seen, and how they feel that, but then they also see other people experiencing that. And so it's this beautiful dynamic that just creates its own process. And then, if somebody knows someone that's like pretty uncomfortable, at a certain point in time, they crack a joke with them. And, I'm pretty good at lightening the mood, and nothing that we're doing is like so serious, because like we're here to like work and have fun and create and problem solve, And so, yeah, that's how we tend to all of that.
I love it. Yeah. And you mentioned something like that you're generally brought in at the transformation phase. I want to be a transformative leader. I am in a business transition. And it's interesting because we've had George Hawkins, the former GM at Moonshot
I have
Missions.
worked in circle with him before. He is a pure delight.
and he's, I think he's getting to the root cause of, you have to break the system in order to put the sustainable impact and change on the system. And I find your approach so novel to this. Like if we just want leadership or teams to behave status quo, then we're going to put traditional leadership training norms on the problem or the solution. But if we actually want transformation, honestly, sometimes sitting in a circle in your socks and seeing your boss and seeing what funny holes in their socks that they have is just what you need to break the ice to actually humanize the work we're doing and bring, to your point, the meaningful conversations from the right part of the brain. So
That's right.
yeah.
And that they get to engage their heart in that conversation as well. It's their head. We bring our head to work. We show up at work and we work from our neck up.
Yeah.
But do you know where all of our creativity is? It's in our body.
It's in our
body.
gut.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in our body.
It's our body.
Our second chakra, if you, from the traditional Hindu yogic system, is what contains our reproductive organs, because that's where we create life from there. And so our creativity, our energy center for creativity is there, which is deep in our body. And the chakra that's above it is the I am chakra. It's our how we show ourselves to the world. Well, if we're only showing our masks to the world, then there's nowhere for that creative energy to flow. So it's a bit of a block.
Yeah.
So if we help people, connect to their head, then connect to their heart. This is pay attention to what has heart and meaning is always one of the principles that we use, because what has heart and meaning is actually what has intrinsic motivation for you. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's okay if what has heart and meaning for you is, killing the design in a spreadsheet or, I think perfect. That's where we need your skill.
Yeah.
Right. But it allows people to just take their little mask or their hat or their role. And I always say, set it aside for the co-creation opportunities. We're here to transform, and transformation only happens when the individuals transform. Otherwise, it's just business operations.
Yeah.
It's business optimization.
Yeah.
I would say, are we doing business optimization or are we doing transformation? Because transformation requires a human to transform. And so one of the ways that we do that is head, heart, and then our will center. And our will center is that third chakra. So when you have humans who are connected head, heart, and their will center, oh boy, everything becomes possible.
Yeah.
Like everything becomes possible.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's funny.
Amazing.
I have a friend who has he has a YouTube channel. He's kind of like Bill Nye the Science Guy for art history.
Awesome.
Former art teacher, but he also talks to some folks. But one of the messages he was sharing a study with me about, if you ask any first grader who's creative in this room, every hand goes up. By the time you hit 12, it's like 30%. By the time you adults, it's like, oh, well, it's only the person who paints or does a traditional creative, versus every person brings their creative self to where they are. It's whether or not they're tapping into it. And I feel like that's a lot of everything you're saying is just bringing that back up. That it's like, how do we get back to that place where we feel safe and unencumbered to bring our creative self to whatever problem we're solving? That's where the meaningful change will happen.
Yeah.
That's right. And I never would have said I was creative. I was totally that kid that's a type A. If people work with me, they think I'm really type B because it feels very unconstrained. But if you plan with me, I'm super type A. And so I always say I'm a recovering type A. And I thought arts and, drama and anything that wasn't science, math, like all the things I needed to do to become an engineer and to do all those things, I thought was a complete waste of time. So I feel like I can do this work with our industry because I am that person. I am the person who would say, my oldest daughter is a huge creative. She's a maker.
Got it.
She's in grade 10. We're figuring out her life's journey, and it's making stuff, whether it's movie sets or whatever. She's a maker. And she looks at me, Mom, and is like, you can't make anything. I'm like, I know. I'm not creative, right? Like she did not get any of that from me. And so when I really started into this work, and I was using an affirmation, sort of this affirmation around building the business, and that it was going to be where I use all of my creativity. And for the longest time, I just felt like a fraud. I was like, what creativity? There's no creativity in this body. But I really had to expand my scope of creativity. It's not art and drama only. It's ways of working. It's problem solving.
Yes.
It's dissolve. It's, are we solving a problem or do we have to dissolve some issues? Are we solving or dissolving? What I love about this process is it dissolves so we can focus and really articulate the problem that we're solving for, or the purpose that we're fulfilling, or the vision that we would like to co-create.
Yeah.
And so I never work with a group of people who are like, yeah, we're so creative. I make everyone do arts and crafts. I shouldn't say that. No one will hire me. But I make everybody do that at one part, because if we can see and feel things, then they come to life in a better dimension. So the creativity in like a strict sense of the word, I always say it never has to be good. It just has to be meaningful.
Yeah, that's right.
And then your creativity really comes to light with, what idea would you really love to bring forward? How would you really love for it to feel at work? What is your desire or your vision for success for this project? And articulate that. But we jump right into problem solving mode and right into the doing phase. But what we really need for transformation, what we really need to solve our biggest challenges, is transformation, which is a combination of being. How are we being with one another? And then what are we doing? And that's where that old system starts to dissolve, because systems are mostly just a whole set of assumptions.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And we know,
and assumptions can only be dissolved.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess this is a little bit off script, but you do have a line of sight into, you work with diverse groups in water. Are there, I mean, can you point to like commonalities of the most, like what needs to dissolve first? Or do you have any like key themes that you come in and every time you're going to be like, this is what we need to attack first? Or just curious.
I never say this is what we're going to attack first. I always say, tell me about what's going on. And I start wherever the business wants to start. There isn't a formula, but one place that the teams, actually I have people start in all different areas. Say, what area feels the most meaningful? So sometimes we start with, just the leadership team, but sometimes we start with all the leaders. Like one group I started working with, there was 80 people that we brought together first.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got started. And what they started to articulate was exactly what they wanted for the organization. So then the leadership team can respond to that and then start building from there and allowing them to build with them. And sometimes we start with the leadership team because there's some work that's needed there. One thing I do see in all organizations, and I think this is because of our hierarchical structure. I always say the structure is the structure. It doesn't define how you work. It defines how the finances are recorded, essentially. Mm-hmm. So let it have that power, and that's okay. But is that a leadership team often doesn't feel like that's a team. Especially if you're at the CEO level and you have some VPs or whatever your chief officers, whatever your titles are, is that they feel like their team is supply chain. They feel like their team is process design. They feel like their team is sales. And so then you have organizations. When I think about what could unlock unlimited possibilities, is more of those teams actually learning how to be a team together.
Yes. We do a lot with utilities, and especially the larger up the size you go, these silos. I'm only going to think about, my engineers. I'm only going to think about water quality. And I often think, like, what if you actually started to think as one organization versus I'm responsible for this P&L with these people. And I could, that's interesting that you say that, because we feel that, and it's just so hard to make change when everything is done in silos and, and
nobody likes it.
Interesting. No, okay. Yeah.
No one's like, I love this silo. It's awesome. It just creates division. And that division is only a set of assumptions. We act as if there's a real wall. There's nothing tangible. But people will not pick up the phone to call somebody else in a different silo. I have one leader that I've worked with. He's one of my favorites. He says to me, Annyse, do you know how much time I spend telling people to pick up the phone and call the other person? He goes, that comes out of my mouth like 10 times a day. I think, good, you're going, because as soon as they call them, that starts, pardon me, that starts to dissolve. That silo starts to dissolve. So we act as if our hierarchical structure is rigid. And it's not. It's just a set of belief systems that told us to do that. So we have to create experiences where they can feel what it feels like to not operate with the idea of a silo.
Yeah.
It's only an idea.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And it is kind of going back to that aspect of like the way that you create the atmosphere to create safety for saying, hey, you can recognize that this is a structure from a financial lens, or we have a P&L, but there's nothing that says that we're also just humans in the same room.
We're just humans.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes very simply when someone says, what do you do? And I think, I don't know where to start. Like, especially if they're not, you know, that's a guy that owns a coffee shop or something. I say, I help de-robotize organizations.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they usually go, oh God, we need that so bad. Like, it's such a relatable, you know, simple sentence, but everything is done through humans. And when we honor that, so much magic unlocks. And it makes everything better. It makes, career pathing easier. It makes fulfillment in that role easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes meetings more productive. It makes relationship building not feel like a struggle. It makes idea generation and a desire to change, because everything's always changing anyways, but we think we have to manage change. Like, we have to strangle it almost to manage it. And how we say, just no, like, where's the desire for the change? Like, tune into the desire for the change, co-create it together. Because I promise you, your organization knows exactly what needs to change and why it needs to change. They just don't feel like they can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you unlock that, all of a sudden things snowball. And so much is shifting and changing and growing, and opportunities are, showing up, and people are feeling like they can do it and run with it. It allows you to have whatever structure that you need to organize the organization, because I totally get it, but it doesn't bind you by it.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think, I think that is so insightful and important to understand, especially in the spirit of transforming our industry. And I think one of the ways I want to make sure we touch on, because one of the ways you are also transforming the industry, in my opinion, is by your new podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for launching a kick-ass podcast featuring amazing women leaders in water. Just talk a little bit about what compelled you to do that, and in your opinion, what kind of void is that fulfilling for us in the industry?
Well, I've had a desire to have a podcast forever. I did one for an organization where I spoke to their senior leaders to sort of humanize them, because senior leaders in really large organizations start to get dehumanized, and people can't quite relate to them. So we ran it as a wild experiment. And that's when I bought the equipment. We kind of figured it out. We worked with this company, and then I loved it. Shocking, but I loved it. But then I couldn't figure out what is the in, and you would know this. It's like, how do I start it? Like, why do I start it? What purpose am I fulfilling? How do I set this up? Like, I couldn't get there. And then 2 years ago, I hosted the Women's Circle at WEFTech, and we just had such an awesome 90 minutes. And I thought, oh, it's so hard still in this industry to find women, to find each other, to feel like we have someone to look up to attract the next, group of women coming in, and to keep them in the industry. And I thought, this is still such a gap. And so then I came home from that kind of fired up and energized by that conversation. They got to talk about themselves at WEFTEC. They took 90 minutes to talk about themselves and their hopes and fears about their next steps in their career. And they coached each other and they counseled each other. And it was a really cool event. And I thought, oh, when you gather women, it's so powerful. And I believe that the transformation that's required in the water industry requires more women involved to make it happen. They are natural systems thinkers. Their everyday life prepares them to juggle, multiple things being true at once. It prepares them to sort of multitask and delegate. They are often nurturing, whether they have children or not, but their families and their friends. There's this element that they're collaborators and co-creators. And when we have women lifting each other up, I think all of society benefits. And so I thought, where are all the voices? I want to hear the voices that are in the industry already. And I want young women to hear the voices. And I want to hear from young women. I just want a place to elevate women's voices in the water space. And I thought, I don't know how to do everything, but I do know how to do that. And so that's where that was crafted. And I thought, we already had the Meaningful Conversations logo from 10 years ago. We knew, I don't know, it was just a little bit of I just knew we were going to use that somewhere. And so when we sat down, everyone's like, well, what are we going to name it? And I said, I think that logo that we already have, I think that's just it. And I said, that's what we do in Circle. That's what I do one-on-one when I coach. Like, I have been hosting Meaningful Conversations when I really thought about it, preparing for WEFTEC this year. I've been doing this for 28 years. I've been sitting in Circle talking about leadership. I started when I was 15 in a leadership seminar that I was invited to. They sat us in Circle and we talked with each other, the students, 15-year-olds to 15-year-olds. The leaders sat out a little bit, let us talk. And then I went back as staff, and then I went back as a committee member, and I went back for like 16 years as the chairperson of that event. And then I was about 33, 32 there. My second daughter was almost born. And then I started this business like 2 years later, and I started practicing at work. So I actually don't have 1 year that I didn't sit in circles in Meaningful Conversations since I was 15. And I only basically remembered that like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And so, so it seemed like such a fitting, we hadn't even connected those like long dots when we named it. But I thought, yeah, that's what we've been doing. And I believe that it's meaningful transformations that are transformative. It gives people the courage to transform, I always say, the way that they are desiring to already, because we are meant to evolve. Not to a way they should, but the way that they already want to. And we create the conditions for them to do that, and then we all benefit.
Yeah. It transports folks from feeling isolated to feeling
inclusive,
supported, connected.
We're
connected and in community, and that's where magic happens.
Yeah. And well, thank you for starting that, because I think, to your point, it's where all the voices, I think we now have a forum, and I'm very excited to see how those Meaningful Conversations transform. I would definitely encourage anybody going to WEFTEC and maybe even larger other conferences along the way. I think you are creating a really great platform and channel and a forum to have the meaningful conversations. And I'm just super excited to see you continue that work and to see how that work evolves over time, because it's absolutely needed for transformation in our industry.
Thank you so much. And there's a lot of brave souls who are ready to go in our industry. The timing is really great.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Annyse. If people want to learn more, connect with you personally or professionally, where should they go?
Yeah, they can find me at Annyse Balkwill on LinkedIn. They can go to our website, which is LuminUSGroup.ca. And we are easy to get a hold of. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you making the time to chat with us.
Thank you. This is such a great program that you're building. So thank you for having me. I feel very honored to be with you today.
Oh, our pleasure. Thanks. Talk soon. Well, Isaac, that was a really fun conversation with Annyse Balkwill. I mentioned my immediate connection with her was just this energy. I'm like, I love your style. I love how you're approaching transformation. And I think the podcast, that conversation with her just kind of told it all.
Yeah. I was very excited to meet her, and in the conversation, I found myself just kind of because the word kept coming up. It was the word dissolve, and just thinking about how important it is that that water as a universal solvent is, that we honor that, and that it helps break down some of the barriers that we have to bring our best selves to whatever we're doing. And so I loved the message that that she had, and really would very much encourage folks to tune into her podcast. Those are such important conversations that we need to have, that keeps coming up as a recurring theme on this podcast. And we're so thankful that you've tuned in to the Make Water Work podcast. We love these conversations, and we love hearing from you. Have had so many great folks reach out about the impact that some of these conversations are having on you. So if that's you, please let us know. If there's someone you want to hear from who makes water work that you want us to feature on the podcast, let us know, even if that's yourself. Would love to do that. And please like, share, follow, do all the things that you normally do with a podcast. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Make Water Work podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Connect with us on LinkedIn or send us a message. Together, we can make water work for everyone.